Hello and welcome to Minslove Academy. So this is part 2 in our penetration testing series. In this episode we'll be looking at SQL Injection. If you haven't watched part 1 where we have set up this damn vulnerable web application using Kali Linux, please visit this episode to set up such that you have this sandbox environment as well where you can follow along. Or if you just have this set up already, it's fine, you can just follow along from here. So first off, we're going to go into the main application, the damn vulnerable web application, as you see right here. I'm in it now. And next off, we are going to change the security setting because we want to set it from impossible to low. Because in this series, we'll be starting low and then we'll move up the difficulty based on when we have solved some of these exploits and played around with them. So we'll start off in the setting of low. Then we'll go into SQL Injection in here. So before we get started, I want to share some link with you. These will also be in the description. First off, we'll be going into this page right here. This is the OWASP cheat sheet for SQL Injection Prevention cheat sheet. And remember that this series is both for like penetration testers, people that want to work in the field of testing web applications, like from the good side, not to exploit it and being a hacker. And this series is also for people that are building web applications, because in order to protect applications you develop, you need to understand how they can be exploited. So in here you can see the cheat sheet of how to do so. They have different primary option defense, and then they illustrate this using different languages like Java, .NET, PHP, and so on. So this is a nice page for you as a developer, but also for you as a penetration tester. The next page is this from Portswigger, their SQL Injection page. They have a short introduction of what a SQL Injection is, and just to sum it up, it's basically just where you as an attacker on a web application try to give an input that allow you to manipulate with the SQL being executed in the backend, meaning that you can retrieve data or get access to data that you're not supposed to get access to. You can read more about it in here, and you can also see different attack vectors that you can use. So let's get back to this right here. So basically we want to try to achieve the goal of getting information out of the backend database based on this input field right here. So what this field is for is basically, if you put user ID 1 in, you'll see that we'll get the user 1 out. But there might be more users and there might be other data in this database. So that's what we're going to play with. To make this easier for us, we'll go to view source, as we saw before. And then we will basically just copy this in order to be able to play with it before we insert anything. So let's just copy this SQL here. And then we can go to the standard text editor. Then we insert this right here. And let me see if I can make this a bit bigger. So editor. Here. So I'll just change this to like so. Then it's probably a bit easier for you to see. So let's see if we can take this and input something else instead of breaking this statement. So normally if we put 1 into this input field here, it will be translated directly into 1 right here. So let's try to extend this by saying, for example, or 1 equals 1. So what we have done here is trying to, like, let's see if this works, but basically we have inserted this now, meaning that we are not breaking the existing statement because we have the starting tag and the closing tag right here, and we have just inserted some additional SQL logic, because we close off this first tag that got opened by the code in the application, and then we just add an additional or 1 equals 1, and then we just close this off again. So in order for this to work, we probably need to do like this, because then we are now closing it off. So if we copy this code right here, or the logic, and then say submit, as you see now, instead of getting 1 user at a time, we get the backend to return every user in the user table. We got their first name and their surname. We could also have gotten that result by manually going through these, but now we know that we are capable of getting our own SQL code executed in the backend. So now we can extend from this. So let's try to see if we can get the passwords of the users to be returned based on manipulating this. So the attack that we want to use to try to get the passwords out is what is called the union attack. And if we go into the page from Portswigger, they have a section about SQL Injection union attacks. So if we click this, you can read more about it. But basically we want to try to make a select statement and then make a union select from another table in order to get results from both tables returned. So let's head back and see if we can achieve such. So let's go into Swagger Union again and then try to search in here, and let's try a search for a password to see if there is something. And of course now I knew it, but you can use these examples to try different stuff on your own. But let's try to use this right here, which is a union attack to get the username and a password. So we'll copy this, then we'll get back to this and then open our statement here, and then we'll just copy this in, copy, or maybe we'll just copy the original as well, just to see where we started. So we take this right here, and then we insert it like this. And then we want again to put something into this ID. So we just take this statement right here, and then we put it in. So we remove ID and put this in. So now we're saying that where user ID equals empty string, then we are going to make a union select from username, and we don't have any username table, so we just say user because because we know that from users table here, and then we have the password because we assume that there is this password table. So we take this, and then we keep these two strings right here because they will make this obsolete, because they will be SQL will treat this as a comment. So if we copy this right here, put it in. Oh, and we got an error from this right here. So let's just, this has to be a hashtag, and let's see user column. Oh, so let's see. So there is no column named user. It's probably because it's called user in the column instead. And as you see, now we got returned the username for each user, and we got there in the surname field, we got the password from the password table. So this is the hashed password value, and I will end this episode off with you on your own trying to crack this hash. There is applications in Kali Linux, but there is also some free web pages where you can do this easily, because it's not a very good hash that is used for this, and it's not solved. We'll get into password hashing in a later episode, but basically we ended off here with being able to use SQL injection to retrieve both username and password from a web application. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time here on Winslow Academy.